Today is Thursday, the 24th of August, 2017, and it is block height 481,902. Welcome to episode 8 of Block Digest. I'm joined by Shinobi.
Hello.
And we're also joined by a new guest today, Sacco. Say hi. You have to unmute. Oh, you need to unmute.
Sorry, I was doing something else. I'm sorry. Hi.
Hi. And is Agnics there?
Hey.
Behind the fourth door, Agnics. Hey. And I'm Chris Ellis, and I'm your host tonight. So the first thing we're going to talk about, obviously, is Segwit activation. We were all partying last night, and we were tuning in. I was tuning into World Crypto Network. They had a great party over there. The team from Lightning Network, they had lots and lots of people tune in. And I just want to say, happy Segwit. What about you,
To the moon.
To the moon. And the price didn't dump. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, yeah, I mean, I just stayed up. I don't know why I stayed up, but I did. It just felt like everyone kind of came together. I really love it when, you know, Twitter does this and we can all kind of gather around a particular theme. And to those people that were saying over the last few months that Segwit had no impact on price, despite numerous evidence that was coming out and more that it wasn't bullish, I think, yeah, that's been put to bed. It definitely was good for the price of Bitcoin. And so we're still doing quite strong in the price wise, but let's just move swiftly on to Lightning Network, because the other day we said that, you know, we weren't expecting Lightning Network to be ready straight away. And now Lightning Network people are saying there's an alpha release that's just come out. Shinobi, do you want to touch on this?
Yeah, this is actually, I believe the 0.3 alpha release. They have a lot of the rough around the edge stuff finalized and out there, but it's still not quite ready for mainnet. But the most important thing to mention, I think, is the Spec compliance, because one of the most complicated things in dealing with a blockchain system like Bitcoin is the nature of consensus in order to maintain a single chain that everybody is a part of is much more complicated than any other internet protocol out there. And there are so many different fringe cases of how data structures are handled, relayed, that it's pretty much impossible to encapsulate the entire Bitcoin protocol in a formal language spec, the way that most other internet protocols are. But with Lightning Network building on top of that, this is actually something that we can do that with. So they've made a lot of progress towards getting the LND client Spec compliant. And the next major phase in testing is going to be taking the three major clients right now, the Lightning C by Rusty Russell from Blockstream, the LND by Roast Beef, obviously, and then the Eclair wallet from this French company Async. And they're working on making sure that all of them are fully Spec compliant and interoperable between each other, so that we can actually see the ability for pretty much anybody out there to do their own Lightning client from scratch and still be fully interoperable with any other clients out there, just to maintain a cohesive singular network. And that's very exciting progress, in my opinion.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. It's been much anticipated. And I wanted to talk about also the custodianship just briefly with you, because I've been hearing from some companies that are saying that if they want to run a Lightning node, that essentially they're going to have to be custodians, and that's going to involve an MSB license. Do you want to say anything about that? Is that true?
Well, obviously I'm not a lawyer, so it's going to be a little bit of armchair lawyering. But I personally, I don't really see where they get this custodial relationship idea from, because obviously, as a custodian, you have control over something. Like the custodial relationship that a consumer generally has with a bank is they take their money and they just give it to the bank. After that point, the bank is in total control of it. They can deny that person access to it. They can take it and run away with it. They can invest it in other things. The user has absolutely no capability or recourse to gain control back of that money unless it is willingly given to them. Whereas even if Lightning was deployed in a very hub and spoke model, that that dynamic really doesn't translate over, because at any time that person can take the most recent transaction from their Lightning channel, submit it, and walk away with their balance from that channel. That there is no control that they need permission to get back from. So I'm not really clear where that idea is coming from. If it's just lawyers being unfamiliar with this technology, or just
playing it safe.
Yeah,
playing it safe.
The potential that regulations could go that way. And ultimately, I think it's very, very likely we're not going to see those hub and spoke models. The way that the protocol is being fleshed out by Roast Beef and the rest of the team, they're moving towards automating the maintenance and the selection of channels. So if we can really get to that point completely, that there would be no central hub. Your wallet would essentially maintain an eye on a graph of the network and open and close channels automatically as it sees fit to maintain the degree of connectivity with everybody else, so that there wouldn't really be any central hub on top of the lack of that custodial dynamic that I went into.
Right. Well, we can talk about this more as things develop and the guys over there, start to release more code and we start to see more use cases. But moving on, Mr. Hoddle, if you're with us, our inline producer, has sent us some exclusive screenshots from inside the BTC1 Slack channel. And this is just, the ongoing story that we've been covering over the last few days of the upcoming chain split that will involve Segwit 2x, aka BTC1, and legacy Bitcoin, regular Bitcoin that now has Segwit enabled. And this comes from the BTC1 Slack channel. This is Eric Voorhees speaking, and he's answering a question here. I understand there were some messages, Mr. Hoddle, if you're there, that came before this. So we don't want to misrepresent or take Eric out of context. So perhaps you could fill us in with that context before I go and I read what he said. Okay, then. I guess we'll just have to read this and then wait for Mr. Hoddle to go on. So Eric is responding to a comment. You can see the air quotes here, seeing as you think two coins coming into existence is inevitable, does that mean you are for strong replay protection? And Eric responds, there will obviously be two coins. The question is whether legacy chain will survive for long, which nobody knows. It may perpetuate forever like Ethereum Classic, forevermore a shadow of the real Bitcoin, in quotes. I'm somewhat agnostic on the replay protection, he says. Honestly, there are some good arguments on both sides. And Alp, who's a regular viewer of our show, hi Alp, comes in and says, look, Eric, do you prefer another split or not? And he says he's curious what in 2x is so good that makes you worth the split. And Eric responds that it's because of the 90% plus minus support. That's the response that he gives. It gets us to 2 megabyte base block, meaning cheaper TXs for longer. And it is the reason why Segwit occurred as well. It's an interesting comment. And I intend to fulfill my agreement and promise to support it. I don't think anyone is, in quotes, bluffing. Conversation goes on a little bit. And I don't know, Mr. Hoddle, do you want to comment on this? Or Shinobi?
I have a sneaking suspicion that he wandered off something involving his wife, perhaps.
Okay. Well, you tell us what you think.
I mean, this is indicative of just the root of the problem among businesses in this space. Like, they do not make these decisions. Like, just because Eric made a promise to Jihan or whoever, just as an example, that doesn't affect me. I'm not a party to that. Like, I entered into no such agreement like that. So I just, like, it's really frustrating because I don't understand where people get this idea that they can simply enter into an agreement and speak on behalf of what at this point is probably millions of people. Like, I don't want to slander his character and call it arrogant, but I'm really having a hard time thinking of another word for it. Like, this is a widely distributed voluntary system. And I find it very hard to see things like this and take it any other way as we don't like that. We want top down, we want people in charge, so just go along with the game. And that is the exact opposite, personally speaking, of why I'm here in this space. Like, it's really impossible for me to touch on subjects like this impartially because it's so frustrating.
Yeah, fair enough. But Mr. Hoddle, do you rejoin us?
Yeah. What I think is happening is they're starting to get doubt. I think Eric doesn't know what's going to happen. I think people are starting to realize, you know, on that side of the aisle that nodes matter, and you have to convince everybody that's running core to start running this software. And I think people are starting to realize that it's not going to happen. And I know that I forget which business it was, but one of them just backed out from Segwit OX. They said that they're going to continue, you know, being with core. And even the mining, a lot of the miners that promised that they were going to, you know, continue on with the Segwit OX nonsense, they're mining Bitcache. So, you know, how do you know that Bitcache at that point in time isn't going to be more profitable than Bitcoin 2x or Bitcoin? You don't. You can't trust miners' word, because miners' incentive is to make as much money as possible. And I just have a weird feeling that it's the reality starting to kick in to a lot of these guys.
Yeah, I'm noticing a climb down. I don't know about you, but I'm noticing that the closer this deadline gets, and actually it's still, you know, several months away, that really is, there's kind of a lot of posturing, a lot of politicking. You know, politics really is the question of what do we do now given the balance of power. And I think that there's an awful lot of posturing that leads up to that moment of decision where we could go one or two ways. And I'm kind of sensing a climb down in this. That's what I'm getting, and I'm going to look forward to keep, you know, reporting this as we do more shows and keeping you up to date with the various comments from all the people that signed this agreement. Whether they think that, you know, like Ethereum did, the Ethereum Foundation did the same thing after the DAO hack. They just assumed that no one would want the legacy chain, and it was that presumptuousness, I think, that kind of, you know, caught them off guard in the end. All right, so moving on to the title of this show, we actually have with us today an ICO expert. Oh, sure, she doesn't want me to call it an ICO expert. I screwed it up.
Don't call me that.
What do you want to be called? Do you want to?
You can just call me Sacco, whatever.
Yeah, but you gotta have a job title. All right. So which ICO scam do we want to talk about?
How about the bar owner? I'm not an ICO expert.
All right, our resident bar owner, Sacco, who knows a lot about ICOs. Which ICO should we talk about? Hubii network?
Enigma. I think Enigma.
Enigma?
Well, okay, we can talk about the one that Mayweather promoted, but I mean,
yeah,
just like stocks, it might not do that well. Stocks is nothing impressive. It hasn't gone up very much since the ICO price. It's just another stupid, you know, stupid shitcoin he's investing in. But honestly, Enigma is the one to look out for. They just got hacked a couple of days ago. A little hack compared to CoinDash, but they're really looking good, and they have a good team. You should look at it.
Right, so we're measuring the prospects of an ICO by how little they're hacked. So if they get hacked for a lot of money,
Well, that's not true. Enigma was really, really popular before it got hacked, and now some people have obviously left the Slack whatever network because it got hacked too. I mean, everything was hacked, but they didn't lose much money. The ICO is still on for September 11th, and I think it's going to make a lot of money.
Good
and
day.
Kyber, the one that has the you know, the developer from Ethereum, what's his name, Vitalik or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on the board. So that whitelist filled up in like 10 minutes and shut their site down because it was so overloaded with people trying to get on.
I thought Vitalik, Shinobi, I thought Vitalik wasn't going to put his name on anything anymore.
Oh, he did.
He put his name on another ICO?
Wait.
Yeah, go look up Kyber, Kyber. Look it up right now. Look at the, I don't know if he's an advisor or a team member, but that shit sold out in like 2 seconds, like the whitelist adding.
Okay, I'm looking it up now. And Sacco, why don't you give us a little background on you and what your involvement in crypto was? When did you get into crypto originally?
I got involved with crypto because I work in San Francisco. I own a bar there near, you know, all the Google buses and shit. So I talk to a lot of techies, and this one guy came in every day trying to get me to buy Ethereum forever. And I finally did when it was like about $6. So that was, I don't know how many months ago, maybe like 8 months ago, something like that. So I bought in then. I didn't really know what it was. I just finally gave in. And after that, it just shot up. and I just started researching it more. And it's the first investment I ever made. Right now, I hold Ethereum and Economy, and Shinobi hates me for this, and Wings. I like to stay on the Ethereum platform. I like to take Ethereum at my bar and not Bitcoin because I am kind of a loyalist. Because it really did, but
That's really interesting.
Changed my life. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's great. No, we've been talking about getting you on. You're a resident in the Mumble chat is because I really wanted a perspective that's different, because a lot of us, like I think Shinobi, Mr. or me, we've been in Bitcoin since 2012 or earlier, maybe in some cases. So like we've been in this like forever, and a week feels like a month in crypto. Like a day can sometimes feel like a whole week has gone by. And I guess you are relatively new. I don't like using the term noob. It's a little bit.
You can call me a noob. It's whatever.
You're a noob. You're like a resident noob. But your first experience was getting into Ethereum, and then that kind of went up, and you were like, "Oh, happy feelings. That's really good. I'm making money."
I don't mind that people are mad at me about this. For me, it is a money grab. I get that. That's what it is.
Yeah. No, well, yeah, no, I'm not going to dispute with you the merits of the free market. I'm not going to say that you're not allowed to make money or anything like that. But do you take any interest at all in like some of the underlying? Yeah.
I absolutely do. I'm sorry. I'm hearing something on my headphones right now. That's weird. I don't know what's going on.
Are you still you still have the mumble unmuted? I think.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. I'm sorry. That was annoying. Okay. It is a money grab, and I do take interest in the technology. That's why I do hold on to some coins I really like and believe in. I download their betas. I get into it as far as I can, but I am not as technologically sound as you guys. I will never be, okay? I studied languages in college. I'm not into this shit. I'll never understand it the way you do. So for the inspiring aspect of it, I'm sure it's lackluster for me compared to you. So I do go in it and I make money and I cash out and I pay my bills. I don't hold it in there forever like lots of people.
Wait, so you studied languages? Well, like comparative literature or?
No, I did Arabic, Middle Eastern studies, Persian lit. I do I spent most of my adult life in countries that didn't even have internet access. So, I mean, it's all very new to me.
Right, so you're pretty worldly then. I mean, it's not as if you're not very well read, by the sounds of it, well educated. You speak multiple languages. I mean, that changes the plasticity of the brain, right? So
For sure.
I mean, it's not as if you couldn't grasp a lot of these concepts that are coming out of crypto.
Well, but yes and no. I mean, I couldn't. A lot of people who might not be worldly and spent their entire life in their mom's basement can build their computers and know this shit way better than me. You know what I mean? Like, this is a different brand of smart. I don't have that.
Hey, mom. Hey, mom. Thanks for letting me build those computers when I was a kid in the basement.
There you go. Exactly. That's not me, dude. I could change the oil on my car. That's about it. I don't understand mechanics and technology. It's like really not my field. Yeah.
Well, here he is. Here is a wonder boy, Vitalik, putting his name to another ICO Kyber network. This is not an inducement to buy. By the way, the titles of these shows are deliberately ironic. We're just going for the most clickbaity headlines we can possibly think of, because we are now in a post-SEO society, and that means that we can now make fun of all the crappy SEO techniques that were used in the decade prior. All right, so I don't know what we're doing here. Like, what are we talking about? This guy? I don't know what this shit is. What is this? What's this Kitdotcom thing? And Bitcache.
You don't even have to read the white paper, dude. That's going to sell out. Just buy in and you'll make money. I promise.
Oh, let's read the white paper. Okay, I'm just giving the white paper now. Yeah, it looks bullshit. Yeah, it looks like a scam. Yeah, definitely going to lose money on this. Okay, yeah, that's it. It's over.
But like, that's part of the issue, though, Sacco, is like, you know, I mean, again, like to frame this right, I don't mean to speak down to you here, but like as somebody who can't really dissect like the technical side of these things, I mean that's a really important question when you have a mechanism like this where you can just open your hands to the whole world and go, give me money. Like, how do you really boil down to it and figure out, is this a viable project?
We're the opposite, okay? I get that. We're like, you're the antithesis of me as far as this whole scene is concerned. It's like I hear you talk and you speak a different language, okay? Literally, you speak a different language. I don't know what you're saying half the time because you are so like plugged into like the side of this I don't understand, the technical side. I like that. I'm not going to be able to wrap my head around it overnight. It's It's just not an area I understand very well. And so I made so much money from Ethereum that I tried my hardest to get invested in it to the point that I'm at, where I even understood what blockchain meant and things like that. But I'm never going to be like you, okay? You're never going to speak Arabic, okay? And I'm never going to speak your language. It's just, we're just on different pages, okay?
Yeah, and that's kind of like part of like the problem I want to touch on. Like you're smarter than you give yourself credit for, and you really can pick through and understand more than you think you do, in my opinion. But there's a lot of other people out there in your situation who just can't. They are so much more hopeless at that than you see yourself. And like that's just, it's dangerous in my opinion, because like how do you look at something and know whether it's worth the risk, whether you're going to get burned or you actually have that chance to see a return?
Oh, I can answer that right now, and it's pretty simple. The way you know if an ICO is going to succeed or not is almost 100% based off the team. They need some, crypto celebrity names in there. You know what I mean? They don't need Mayweather supporting it, because that didn't work. They need their team to be based off of people who really know their shit. And if they have a good team, it's almost 100% the ICO is going to make you money when it hits the exchange. It's that easy. You just Google everyone on the team, see what their reputation is, and then decide to invest on that. Some people invest in Cryptopia ICOs that don't even have a team listed. That's stupid.
Yeah, but that's kind of drags us further down the rabbit hole, because who is an expert or knowledgeable in this space is in itself a source of contention. You have people who have that perception publicly, but they really don't know what they're doing. I mean, they built things, but it's usually things that haven't succeeded. And these people
generally, it's a smoke mirror, dude. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Who cares? Because the fact of the matter is, if you're getting into an ICO for reasons like I am, like, you're going to sell it anyway. You're not emotionally attached to this coin. You're going to just get rid of it when it makes money. So I really don't even bother reading or trying to understand the white paper on coins that I just want to sell the minute they hit the exchange. That's what an ICO is about. It's bullshit. That's what it is, for the most part.
Okay, so see, this is kind of the tricky topic, because like to kind of draw back to the two examples we have for today, you have the Hubii network. It's kind of like an artist's distribution thing, kind of like what Bryce Weiner has been trying to do for a while. And then with this Kim.com Bitcache, like Bitcache, that's something that he's been pushing for what, more than like a year now, Chris, like a year and a half. And
yeah,
it keeps getting delayed. And like that's really a sticky question for me personally. I generally don't like.
But Sacco's point is that you don't really need to understand. Like the white paper is just like a part of the course. You put it out there, nobody reads it, and it's really just everyone's looking at the faces on the website, those scrolly parallax design websites. They look at those little black and white pictures of all those, like, people, the advisory board. And I remember a tweet storm, I'm trying to find it now, where Vitalik said he wasn't going to do that anymore, because he understands that that his voice, his name alone is worth a lot of money, and just putting his name on something. And then it's like, well, when's it getting listing on Bittrex? It used to be, when's it getting listed on Polo? But then Polo, I don't know what happened to Polo, but they're not listing coins anymore. They're not the ICO platform, the IPO platform anymore. And everyone just, gets rich off the greater fool, right? Like you give money and then, somebody else comes in and then more money comes in. It's all about being first to market. You can get your capital to market quicker than someone else can.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and they have ICOs now that go, if you get in the first hour, you get X amount more than the second hour, and X amount more than, those are the scammiest ones, I think, because you're not even on the market yet, and you're trying to determine that the first hour of this ICO is going to be $4 a coin, now the next hour is $7. Like, you're not even allowed to make those kind of like determinations. Like, how do you even get that number? It's ridiculous. I stay away from those, honestly.
Well, that's designed for the FOMO, the fear of missing out. So actually Ethereum did that in its ICO. It originally launched and there was a countdown timer, and then the number of coins you would get would reduce for the same amount of money as time went on. And that, and I spoke to Stefan, when that was going on, to alt. And I said, like, you don't think this is slightly unethical? You don't think it's like, and it's like, you know, it's a little cheeky little, like, and I find this sort of gray area that the ICOs exploit, and the vulnerabilities, just like the show title is parodying, where, you know, we've all seen those ads like make money online, and, you know, just sit behind you, work for Google and get a check for $3,000 a month, like, you know, this normal person did, you know, and it's just not true. And I feel like people are getting wrapped up in it, and sooner or later people are going to get burned. I mean, you were lucky, Sacco, you got in the right end of the curve.
Yeah, I got in.
We had just come out of a crypto depression, right, for like almost 18 months when you came in, and then Ethereum was just doing nothing for the longest period of time before it kind of shot up, and then it crashed because of the DAO hack. And I guess you came in just after the DAO hack, right?
Right after the DAO hack, like literally, like
perfect.
the day I bought it, it went up every day, almost double.
Right. Yeah, I actually remember that when that happened. I was really surprised to see that happen. And David Seaman must be happy, because he famously put out a public tweet saying, I'm converting all my Bitcoins into cold storage. Now, he did that before you got in. Actually, it went down quite a lot after he converted his Bitcoins. But yeah, then it went up, and you got that parabolic rise that a lot of early Bitcoiners got. You know, the sub 100 club, all of you out there, hi. All those of you who got in under $100, you experienced that too. I mean, we experienced it several times. Went up to 250, it went down, then it went up to 1,000, then it went down, and now it's at 4,000. And it's like, you know, I mean, I told one friend of mine about this, and she's like, what does that? Like, what goes from like $50 or $1 up to $4,000? Like Microsoft? No, Microsoft didn't go up that much. You know, Facebook's gone up a lot, but not that much in percentage terms. This is absolutely enormous, and that's why we've seen such an influx to all these Telegram chat rooms. And we'll talk about this more on another show, but like there's Telegram, there's TeamSpeak, there's one called Whalepool, and then this community here on Mumble was actually a fork of the Whalepool, and then this channel is kind of like a fork of WCM, but not really. You know, it's sort of, you know, all these little communities kind of, you know, get bigger and bigger, and then they kind of divide, like cells dividing, but actually we're all part of like one community, you know.
I think Slack is a really good community to get involved with too, if you're interested in purchasing a coin. I mean, because they have lots of the like marketing people who are actually on the team answering questions in there. And I've fallen victim to a couple ICO, no, not a couple, one ICO hack. And actually going into the Slack room, we sorted it all out. It was good. You can actually speak to people on the team, whereas if you try to send them emails, it's just like never going to hear back. It's kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, the Slack channels are kind of like a private in-group for all the ones in the know. And then they kind of, I mean, it's kind of public, but it's also sort of private. And they can then have deniability, and they can say, look, nothing was done behind closed doors, but really it was like a Slack channel, and you needed to put in your email address and you needed to be invited in. But are most of these like automatic invite, like you just put your email in and you get straight in, or do some of them actually have
you just put your email in and you get into most of them. They have like invite times that are open and closed, so you might click the link too late, not get in, but
right.
For the most part it's open.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting. Oh, I didn't know they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of control the flow of the people in there.
Yeah, but it's also like information asymmetry as well. And on Telegram, you know, you've got a lot of pump groups, and you know, I keep getting invited to all these scammy pump groups, and they want to pump this and that shitcoin and ICO and whatever. So I don't know if you guys want to hear more about ICOs, but Sacco is, I'm calling him. But our bartender here is actually also a resident expert in ICOs.
I'm not a bartender. I'm a bar owner. Thank
bar owner. I'm sorry. I demoted you. I'm not really.
Dare you?
Just like, that's embarrassing. Bar owner. And will you be doing an ICO for your bar? I mean, do you want to like spruce it up a little bit?
No, but my bar is called Stuffed. It's in San Francisco, and we do take Ethereum. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Got a little plug in there as well. That's not a paid endorsement, by the way. We just love her bar. She sends us pictures all the time. Right. So, do we want to move on to the visa story? Shinobi.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Let's talk about this piece of shit. Okay. This is like our fake news of the week. And so Visa patent for blockchain-based digital asset network has finally been published. It's like over a year old. It was published back in February 2016, or at least that's the date on the the actual papers themselves. And do you want to give us a little intro here, Shinobi? And then I can read out from there.
Essentially, what this seems to me is Visa is trying to patent the blockchain. It's really just, it shows the huge gulf between what people are trying to build in this space and how things traditionally work in finance. I mean, you go from like people patenting and building their own solutions in-house so that they own it, that they control who's allowed on it, to complete open access, where anybody with an internet connection can just build on something. And like we've seen this a few times over the year. Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, like there's been a couple waves of these patent applications, and it's all prior art. I mean, I don't know what to think. What
is prior art, for those who don't know?
It's pretty much relating to patents. If there is something that it was demonstrably done, built, discussed, or proposed in the public eye prior to a patent being filed, then you essentially can't patent it because it's already out there. It's a pre-existing idea. And the fact that it was out there before the filing of a patent is essentially the negation to the patent that somebody would try to file.
Yeah. So let's just take a look at this patent. Here it is. Looks all very official. And this is basically the legacy system doing what it knows how to do rather than trying to innovate and try and be different. And, you know, if the environment outside of you is changing quicker than what you can muster up on the inside, I'm not sure how long you're going to last. But I mean, just take a look at this language. Let's just have a little go at this here. Number one, a method comprising receiving by the first computer from a second computer a request to validate a digital asset, including a digital signature, wherein the first digital signature was generated with the first private key associated with the second computer, and wherein the digital asset indicates the transfer of a value from a sender to a recipient, validating by the first computer the digital asset, generating by the first computer a second digital signature for the digital asset, the second digital signature generated with a second private key associated with the first computer, providing the first computer the second digital signature to the second computer, wherein the second computer sends the digital asset to a recipient node computer, recording by the first computer the digital asset in database, and coordinating by the first computer a transaction associated with the digital asset. Do you want me to go on?
I think that's that gets the gist.
Is that enough?
As
like,
delivered.
What the fuck was that? what just happened?
That was pretty much the vaguest, yet at the same time most verbose language you could possibly come up with to say we're patenting a blockchain. And using...
Who speaks like this? Who gets paid to write this crap? Like, really? Should we get someone on? Like, who can tell us, like...
I mean, it's a bit like just the language that patents are usually structured in, because obviously you have to cover as many potential loopholes as possible. But I mean, what like that pretty much says the process of signing something designated to another public key with your private key and a database that records this is what they're patenting. That's a blockchain. Like this was put out in 2009, all under open source licenses, all out in the public for free, and it has clearly existed before this patent was filed. Like this is undeniably covered by prior art. So I mean, I can't do anything but laugh.
Yeah, it's hilarious. And for the lols, I mean, I might just read this all out and upload it, you know, to the internet and just have an audio file of me reading out the entire patent. Like it's like as a work of art, you know. It's just the most inane piece of shit I've ever read. Like it just doesn't make any sense, and it's just basically just, yeah, as you say, just copying stuff that's already been done. Like I could come up with something like this, and I could just pay somebody to write all this like really dense language to explain how it's done. But really, what they're trying to patent is a process. Right, they're just taking existing tools, and it's combinatorial in nature, right? You're just putting it into a certain combination and saying this is unique and this is mine. And it's not. You just came up with a process. You didn't come up with the tool, the individual discrete tools.
And even that aside, they didn't even come up with the process. I mean, just Bitcoin exists. Go look at the blockchain. It's the proof right there.
Yeah. All right. So, and finally, I guess, the Kremlin. Is this more fake news? I guess it is. I mean, Vitalik Wonderboy has been mentioned in it, and the Kremlin considers a crypto ruble and use of a blockchain in public service. Oh wait, no, they even used it wrong. Use of blockchain, so they even used it wrong. It's like an abstract now. Fucking bullshit. Anyway, blockchain for us is not only about the ability to generate the equivalent of banknotes. It also provides a mechanism for a professional, transparent, and fast public service, a minister said. And I like that Vitalik's putting his name to another potential scam.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see really where this this goes. I mean, a blockchain is obviously a combination of different things to maintain that consensus in, I guess, in an anarchic environment, an environment without an authority and control of things. And I just don't see any way to really reconcile those two things with like a government currency issued, maintained, controlled by a government with a system like that. I mean, effectively, what you would be doing is just taking the databases you have, and instead of a password connected to an email, you would have a public and private key. And that really offers none of the use case benefits of a blockchain. And the only real benefit it adds is if given the caveat that users could manage these keys securely, that it would be a more secure access mechanism. But as we've seen many times in the crypto space, a lot of people have trouble doing that.
Yeah, so there's no real value add. Like, the very reason why you want a government is so that you don't have to like go through this process, and actually you do want things to be reversible, because the state is, you know, very good at just, you know, making up rules and coming up with exceptions to those rules. And you don't get that with the blockchain, as we've seen in the past 2 years with the block size debate. It's very difficult to write exceptions to rules once they're in place. It's slow and it's deliberate, and that's a feature, not a bug, right?
Exactly. And obviously the only chain, I guess we could say, has done something like this would be Ethereum, but obviously Classic is still there, still chugging along as a demonstration that their assumptions they could just snap their fingers and rewrite things without consequences were totally off base. And I still think that we're not even close to seeing the consequences of that really build up. As that platform gets bigger and you have more and more people considering building things on top of it, it's always going to be in the back of people's minds. Can I count on this platform to continue operating without altering things to the benefit of a small number of people that were affected detrimentally?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's happened in the last few years is that, and maybe this is a closing thought because we're coming up to the end of the show, is that a lot of people now start to see the guts in the machine. They start to see how the technology works. I'm thinking of, like, you know, the Raspberry Pi Foundation. I'm thinking of a lot of these guys, I guess most of us are men from the 80s that grew up with computers in our bedrooms. And I was very fortunate because my dad happened to be really into computers and he knew how to code. And so I was just surrounded by technology from a very early age. And I think there's a whole group of us. And now we're entering that period of our lives where we're starting to become potentially influential. Like, we're getting roles, you know, my peer group is now potentially getting roles as politicians, and they're getting, you know, senior positions in companies, and they're now becoming key decision makers. And I think that a lot of that nostalgia from the 80s and the technology back then, which is very different actually to the technology now, which is largely, you know, glued up and you can't get inside of it. But what I'm talking about is, you know, the kind of technology. I mean, you know, like the famous Raspberry Pi or the Odroid, for example, these single board processors where you can actually see all the moving parts. And I think it's the same thing with the blockchain. It's the same thing with Bitcoin. It's open source. You can see how it works. And now everyone that's looking has got an opinion on it. Whether or not they're qualified, they still have an opinion on it. And as a human being, they want to be heard by their tribe. They want to sit around the hearth and, you know, have their say. And I guess some people are more qualified than others. And I think a lot of this technology has been hijacked from a marketing standpoint. I think a lot of people just take these buzzwords, take these words used as technology, and then turn them into marketing terms that can be then recognized by, you know, investors and people that just want to jump on the bandwagon. And that's kind of what I see happening. And I hope, my hope for the future is that, you know, we will become more participatory in the way that we organize and structure things. And actually we will all become tool builders, and everyone will be building their own apps and everyone will be assembling their own technology. That's kind of the world I want to see. Any closing thoughts on the panelists?
Yeah, on a generational level, I'm very hoping we get there, Chris. I just think that, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but, you know, the blockchain, like Bitcoin, these types of systems, they're really like the first world-changing, just monumental technological jump forward that we've had with the internet functioning the way it is, where everybody, you're not just hearing things on the TV, on the news. You're not just having those little bits filter through your social circles. Everything is open for you to just jump into. And I think like it's going to be a lot messier going forward to see this technology really flesh out and integrate itself into society, with the doors so much more widely open than they have been in similar instances in history.
Yeah, true that. Anyone else before we wrap up? No, they've all gone. Well, Sacco is no doubt running the bar, but she is the owner of the bar, and also a very welcome guest on this panel. And I want to hear different voices, and I don't just want to hear, you know, the same tired voices. And I guess I feel like there's a lot of us who are loud right now who have been in crypto for a long time. And if you're new to crypto, if you feel like you've got a perspective that's slightly different, you can get involved. The link to the Mumble chat is in the top of the description right there. And I guess that's all we got time for. And thank you very much for tuning in. Remember, you can like and subscribe, but only if you want to. Bye for now.